Dr. Alvin, welcome to Business and Politics. I should say that we're not related, just in case the viewers are wondering. Yeah. I was tempted to call you Tito, but I was horrified to find out I'm older than you are. It's nice to see you again, Professor Ang. As we said in the introduction, you're here to tell us the outlook for the Philippines. What do you see?
Yeah, well, first, thank you, Klink, for inviting me here. It's an opportunity to share my views, and not necessarily that of the Ateneo, but
sure.
Most of it based on my analysis of how the Philippine economy is performing in the last 2 years, middle of COVID and up to now, getting out of the pandemic, basically. So, well, the economy, as we have seen in the news in the last month and the last few weeks, very encouraging numbers, okay. Growth that are way beyond expectations of many, right?
Okay.
So, and well, if you look at it, it's really something to be proud of, basically, okay. Because you are really seeing improvements faster than expected. So that means the economy is getting better faster.
Right.
But the thing is, you have to go back how deep we went down in 2020.
That's right.
That's really the challenge, because we have basically lost about 25% of potential output from 2020 up to today. While we may be recovering very fast, the trajectory that we have lost, we just basically went back to where we were.
That's what I was going to say. A lot of the people who were questioning the celebrations of the high GDP number were saying that it was merely a rebound and we were just back to where we were before the pandemic started. Is that accurate to say from your perspective, or is there something worth really, feeling good about?
Yeah, it's true that we just went back to where we were. But,
okay.
The good thing is we went back faster.
Okay.
It could have been worse. I mean, if we did not grow faster, then
okay.
we are still below that level, right? So we are now back, or even higher than the 2019 level.
Okay.
So that's something to celebrate about, because we did not, we did not linger too long,
right,
below that level. So
right.
That now brings us to the question of, are we sustaining this this growth, this speed of growing again?
Yeah.
So
well, since you brought that up, a lot of people say that the economic fundamentals of the Philippines is good, but is that true from an economic standpoint, or is that more of a political soundbite to please some people? What do you think?
No, to be honest, if you look at the data going back, we are really fundamentally is okay.
Or sound. Okay.
Sound. It's just that my challenge with the economy right now, and even in the last 20 years, is that the structure has not changed.
Okay.
So basically, fundamentally okay, but then who or what are the sectors leading the growth? Because this is what is causing internal challenges within the country's economy. Like, for example, you have agriculture being left behind, so far behind.
Yeah.
And manufacturing stalling for almost 20 years now. So you're just basically looking at services.
Right.
So, yes, fundamentally, services is bringing us up, but then it's not bringing everyone up.
Right.
So the economy is like biased towards services. Very little production.
I think there was a number that came out also with the manufacturing index that was down a bit as well. But, FDI, they say, was higher. Consumption was a bit down, I think, in the last quarter. For ordinary people, they may find it difficult to, interpret these things, right? As you mentioned earlier, GDP was up, but inflation was also up, the record number. Unemployment was down, labor participation was up. I mean, overall, are you optimistic about where we are? Looking forward?
Well, there's no doubt we will grow. And there's no doubt we will grow at about 5 to 6% annually. The question is the quality of the growth, the distribution of the growth. Because if we continue at our current trajectory and speed, you will only benefit a few services sector
Yeah.
in that regard, and the quality of that growth will eventually catch up with us, like what you are seeing right now in
Right.
inflation. High growth, high inflation. Inflation is basically the consumption of people. So
Right. About 7%, right?
yeah, even if your inflation is your growth is high, income is growing, but cost of goods and services are also going up. So that means the only way to cushion those high prices is that there's a restructuring of the economy towards some sort of local production
Right.
of goods and services that you're buying.
Right.
Basically.
You mentioned that the structural problems have not changed. Could you elaborate on that? I mean, is that related to what you were pointing out earlier about the agriculture sector not performing as well as it should be?
Yeah, it's actually the distribution of the growth. Where is it coming from? And and look around the Philippines, travel. It's basically agriculture.
Right.
Right. But then, if you look at the contribution, agriculture
About
less than 10%.
Yeah, 9-something%.
Yeah. So that's. I mean, if that alone tells you that the sustainability of growth is that it's either these lands will no longer be used for agriculture; they'll be converted for something else.
Okay. Subdivisions,
or there will be for buildings, for.
Right.
But if they are going to be used for higher value production, that's all right. But then that's a challenge of manufacturing. They don't also have that because it's very limited to manufacturing of export-oriented components. So you really don't have a very strong local manufacturing, and you have a really way behind agricultural sector. So that's the structural challenge. So you really need to put something into agriculture. We know it's not going to happen overnight.
Sure.
Based on our estimates, it will take about 66 years for the agricultural sector to just double its output.
Wow. At the current
level and pace. So it's not we're not after that doubling. We're just simply saying, we try to at least catch up a bit there, produce a certain level of security of food for our people.
Right.
Because in that context, you are able to lower inflation or cushion inflation a bit. Certainty of and availability of food items, which really is the main element of your inflation.
Right. I was reading also that some of I think it was a chamber of farmers were saying that even though the growth of agriculture was, I think, less than 1% last year, the growth of fisheries was actually negative. I think negative 5% for the year. Is that, again, a structural issue related to what we're talking about? Or?
Same. These sectors, basically, you see people, if they are not growing, the sectors are not growing, that means that those sectors are not producing income.
Right.
So therefore, people are leaving.
Right.
Or giving up in that sector. So if that has been happening for the last 2-3 decades, then this is what you are seeing now.
Right.
So I don't think it's neglect. It's just that the help was given very focused on certain areas, but not in all. And so in a way, it push people out.
Right.
And you're seeing fisher folks, farmers leaving their farmlands and their local production areas to become low-skill service workers in urban areas.
Or OFWs.
Right? So
you've studied in Japan and you've been to many countries also. You've seen the agriculture sectors there. When you say that that the Philippines needs to address structural issues, what are some of the interventions that you think that should be looked at here?
But in terms of agriculture, I think the very basic there is we know it. Scientific, we have to use science.
Okay.
There's climate change. We know there's a threat.
Right.
So it's not going to be predictable, but then use science to know, for example, in a particular area, what do you need to produce there? We have put all the money of government in agriculture basically in rice and corn, but then there are other products.
Right.
If you look at the productivity map of agriculture in the country, not all of them produce rice. I mean, there's
Right.
context specificity. So don't put money on areas where rice is not the priority,
Right.
or it's not the main produce of the land. So there's like matching
Right.
supposed to be of the products of the land,
Right.
including livestock, including fisheries. So if you're not able to do that, that's where much of our challenge is coming from. For example, the news, you have very high prices of onion because there was perceived shortage.
Yeah.
And then there is also the oversupply of tomato being thrown away.
Right.
That, to me, that's a management, very simple inventory problem.
Right.
That you could easily could have addressed, because farmers don't plant for the sake of just
Right.
just
For
planting.
they hope to earn, eh?
Yeah, so that means they don't have the right market intelligence,
Right.
which is for a business, that's simply inventory. Start with inventory. What do I have? What do I need to produce? What can I buy from others? And so, if all local government will simply do something like that and just share information, I don't think we are in this mess.
Well, it's very frustrating to hear this, but we have some more questions to ask. We'll be right back with Dr. Alvin Ang. This is Business and Politics. Don't go away.